Have you ever walked into a room and felt the emotional weather change before anyone spoke? Have you ever loved deeply, then blamed yourself for someone else's chaos? Have you ever thought, why do I feel everything this intensely? If that sounds like you, stay with me, because this is not about being dramatic. This is not about being too sensitive. This might be a rare psychological pattern that Carl Jung understood very well. I've mentioned this before on the channel. Some personalities are not rare because they are loud. They are rare because they are deeply conscious. And that can feel lonely. Seriously speaking, it can feel incredibly lonely. You notice subtext. You notice contradictions. You notice pain people hide from themselves. So you might be wondering, is this a gift or am I just exhausted all the time? The reality is, it can be both. And because of that, recognizing the pattern becomes everything. Let's explore this right now. By the end, you'll know whether these 8 signs describe your psyche. And if they do, you'll also know what to do next. One strong sign is that you have an active inner observer. You don't just feel feelings, you watch yourself feeling them. When conflict happens, part of you is inside the moment. Another part is studying the moment. Jung called this developing consciousness around the ego. Most people react first and reflect later. You often reflect while reacting. That sounds useful, right? But here's the issue. It can make simple moments feel mentally crowded. P. If you constantly self-monitor, then you need deliberate recovery. Try 10 minutes of no analysis time daily. No journaling, no processing, just breath and sensory grounding. And because of that, the next sign becomes obvious. You detect projection faster than most people. Projection means someone puts their disowned feelings onto you. Jung saw this everywhere in relationships. Have you noticed people calling you selfish when you set one boundary, or accusing you of control when they feel out of control? That is often projection in motion. You catch these patterns quickly, but the surprise is, you still sometimes absorb them emotionally. Why is that? Because insight and nervous system safety are different skills. Overall background tone: calm, grounded, intelligent, compassionate, authoritative. If your mind sees clearly, but your body panics, then use both psychology and biology. Name the dynamic out loud to yourself. Then regulate your body with slow exhale breathing. Longer exhales signal safety to your nervous system. What I kept coming back to through all of that was this. You often attract narcissistic dynamics, then wake up and break the pattern. As I've said, this is a question many empaths carry with shame. Please drop the shame. Jung described the wounded healer pattern. You sense hidden pain in others. You try to love people into wholeness. Narcissistic personalities can hook into that instantly. Did you know trauma bonding often depends on intermittent reinforcement? That means affection and withdrawal cycle unpredictably. Your brain then chases repair like a slot machine. Yes, your attachment system can feel like Vegas at 2 a.m. Not glamorous, just expensive emotionally. If you keep choosing unavailable people, then don't ask, what's wrong with me? Ask, what familiar wound feels like home? That question changes everything. But here's what most people completely miss. A rare personality often has a rich symbolic dream life. You don't only dream stories. You dream in archetypal images. Water, houses, children, old women, dark hallways, broken mirrors. Jung called these symbols messages from the unconscious. Not fortune-telling, not magic tricks, psychological communication. You wake up feeling a dream was important, even if confusing. You sense it points to a conflict your conscious mind avoids. That is a mature psyche trying to self-correct. Pin a dream note by your bed. Write 3 things only: the strongest image, the strongest emotion, one waking life link. Do this for 2 weeks. Patterns appear fast. And no, you don't need to decode every dream like a secret FBI file. So what actually makes the difference next? It comes down to your relationship with solitude. Rare personalities need solitude like lungs need oxygen. Not because you hate people, because you process deeply. Elaine Aron's work suggests around 15 to 20% of people have high sensory processing sensitivity. That means deeper processing of stimuli. If you're in that group, then constant social input drains you faster. You may love your friends and still need silence after brunch. You may love your partner and still need alone time to reset. That is not avoidance. That is hygiene for your psyche. Build a non-negotiable reset ritual. 20 minutes, no phone, no emotional labor, no explaining yourself. Remember that boundaries are not walls, they are architecture. And because of that, another sign becomes incredibly clear. You are learning to tolerate disappointing others. At first, this feels brutal, especially if your identity came from being the safe one. But individuation demands this. Jung's individuation means becoming who you are, not who people reward. If you always choose harmony over truth, then you abandon yourself. You start saying simple sentences. I can't do that. I need time. That doesn't work for me. Small words, massive consequences. Some people leave. Some people escalate. Some people finally respect you. The reality is, your rare personality stops performing goodness. It starts practicing integrity. There's a big difference. And from contrast, here is another marker. You can hold paradox without collapsing. You see good and bad in the same person. You see love and anger coexisting in yourself. You stop forcing black and white stories. This is advanced shadow work. Not only that, it gets even better. When you hold opposites, you become harder to manipulate. Why? Because manipulation depends on splitting. You're all good if you obey. You're all bad if you resist. If you can hold complexity, then those tactics lose power. Practice this line when triggered. 2 things can be true. Say it slowly. Feel your feet. Choose response over reflex. What I kept coming back to through all of that was this final shift. You increasingly choose meaning over approval. This is rare. And yes, it can cost you comfort. You stop asking, will they like me? You start asking, is this aligned with my values? You stop chasing intense chemistry. You start building emotional safety. You stop confusing rescue with love. Seriously speaking, this is the turning point. The empath becomes conscious. The wounded healer becomes a grounded healer. And your sensitivity becomes precise, not porous. Now, let me reflect the 8 signs clearly so you can check yourself. You may have this incredibly rare personality if you observe yourself while feeling, not only after. You detect projection quickly in relationships. You repeat rescue patterns, then consciously break them. Your dreams carry symbolic, emotionally accurate guidance. You require solitude for real nervous system recovery. You can disappoint others without abandoning yourself. You tolerate paradox and reject black and white narratives. You choose meaning, integrity, and individuation over approval. If this list hit you hard, breathe. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not imagining your depth. But that depth needs structure. Without structure, sensitivity becomes overload. With structure, sensitivity becomes wisdom. So what's the bottom line? Jung never asked you to become less feeling. He asked you to become more conscious. That is this path. And yes, it is incredibly hard, but it is also unbelievably liberating. If you recognized yourself today, I want you to do one thing right now. Comment with the sign that felt most personal. Just one. That single sentence can begin real integration. And if you want, share this with someone who keeps saying you're too sensitive. They might finally understand what's actually happening. Subscribe to the Depth Empath for daily Jungian tools for real life. No fluff, no fake quotes, only grounded depth psychology for empaths and highly sensitive people. Next, watch the video on why empaths attract narcissists. It connects directly to what we explored here. As I've said, awareness is step 1. Practice is step 2. Your individuation starts now.